independent schools along the East Coast. I'm married and have 2 children. So let's get started with the college essay. So I think the first thing it's really important to keep in mind is that your essay is just one part of your overall application. So in addition to the essay, colleges are going to see your grades, obviously. Not only your grades, but also the courses that you've taken, how challenging they are, how rigorous they are at whatever school that you're at, and also your test scores and your extracurricular activities. So, I mean, your application, excuse me, is just one part of your college application. Um, and it's important, yes, but I would argue that it's probably not the most important part. I mean, I think the most important parts are your grades and your test scores. I mean, that is if you provide test scores. I know a lot of schools this year with everything going on are test optional. But so I mean, the essay is one part, and it's an important part, but it's not the most an important part. I mean, I think one thing to keep in mind is, an amazing essay, as wonderful as it may ultimately be, is not going to get you into a school that you really have, no business, applying to, in the first place, if that school is, let's say, a highly selected school. So, I mean, you should do your best, but, it's just one part of your application. It's certainly an important part. I mean, one thing that I remember from a college admissions person that they told me is that, 80% of the essays that this person has read, and this is from school on the East Coast, they said that 80% of the essays, that they read are just okay. 10% are amazing, and 10% aren't that great. So I mean, I think ideally the goal is to be in that 10% great category. But if it's a solid essay, that's okay. I mean, I don't want you to put so much pressure on yourself where you feel like you have to write the next best thing. You don't have to be, your essay doesn't have to be one that ultimately gets published in the New York Times. That's that sort of thing. And the essay doesn't define who you are as a person. So obviously you'll do your best, but there are other parts of your application as well that colleges are going to see and that are probably more important. Let's just talk about, what to expect, during this webinar. So, we'll get in terms of, how you should approach this, getting started with the essay, things you should, do and things that you shouldn't do. And then, editing feedback and, how to kind of polish your essay once you have your idea down. And then we'll have some time for your questions at the very end. So let's start off with the goal of the personal essay. So to me, the goal of a college essay is to demonstrate to colleges that you are a mature and thoughtful person. Obviously, schools are going to have your grades and your scores, but they also want to know, are you a good person? Are you going to be a good roommate? Are you going to be a good partner, on a group project? Yes, you're smart and talented, but, as we all know, smart and talented people can also be jerks. So, this is kind of a way for them to filter out, and make sure that, they're not just admitting a jerk to their campus. They want to see that you are a mature person, someone who will, use their, wit and intelligence and, talents and contribute and not detract, from the community that you will ultimately join. So, I imagine most of you have taken a look at, the Common App essay questions. They give you, 6 questions, and they're really, open-ended. They ask you things to think about, your background, your achievements, something that you struggled with, something that you're really passionate about, something that you've learned, or an instance where you've changed your mind. And I mean, you'll see that those questions are, really, really open-ended. So they give you a lot of latitude. And I mean, I think one thing that you should start off with, and hopefully this gives you some freedom, is that, don't feel like you need to answer any one particular question directly. I mean, really, you can write about anything. And I mean, one of the prompts, says, feel free to go in your own direction. So don't feel like, you need to, answer any one particular question. head on. Really, the prompts are more or less just suggestions, things that can guide you, but feel free to go in any direction, that you know that that you want. In terms of brainstorming, in terms of generating some ideas, I mean, things that you might want to consider is thinking about your background, your upbringing. If there's something unusual or unique about where you come from. Maybe you were born overseas. Your family dynamics. If your family is a little bit unusual, something that you care about. It can be something profound like social justice or the environment or fashion. I remember one of the strongest essays that I've read, was written by a boy who just loved Nikes. He just loved sneakers and, had a huge Nike collection. And, he just wrote a really, really powerful essay about, how, he learned to interact with people, and, started conversations with people, based on, the type of shoes that they were wearing. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to say that you're a social activist. It could be something that's really unique about you. Another thing that you might want to consider is to have a friend, tell you what is really unique about yourself, or whatever it is that you're opinionated about. I mean, regardless of whatever it is that you write about, I mean, you want it to be something that you are passionate about, something that you want to share, with the college. Other things you might want to consider. I mean, when was the last time you cried? When was the last time you lost your temper or got really excited? I mean, if you were king or queen of the world, what would you do first? I mean, if you won the lottery, what would you do, with your winnings? So it's really an opportunity to demonstrate, this is what you care about. This is what, you want to contribute. In terms of choosing a topic, like I said, make sure it's something you're passionate about. Make sure it's something that's relatable. I mean, you want it to be a personal essay. I mean, you want it to be an essay where you are the focal point. I think a common mistake that some students make is they might write an amazing essay about their sibling or their grandparents or their parents or a friend, and I mean, you want yourself to be the focal point of the essay and not be on the periphery. And ultimately, you do want to give it context and take it to the big picture. We'll talk more about this a little bit later. So a couple things to avoid. I would highly recommend that you don't talk about sex, drugs, or any illegal activity. I think that's kind of a no-no for colleges. I mean, I think you might have an interesting story to tell, but hopefully you have other interesting stories to tell that don't involve those things. I would stay away from essays that deal with athletic achievement, like scoring the winning goal in a state championship. I mean, yes, that might be a meaningful thing for you, but I think it's kind of overdone and kind of cliched at this point. I think the same is also true for travel and community service experiences. I've seen a lot of essays where students talk about mission or service trips that they've been in, and perhaps going to an orphanage in a third world country and learning how fortunate they are. I think that just might rub some people the wrong way. Um, and I think you just have to be very, very careful that you don't come across as being culturally insensitive when writing about something like that. As I said, essays where you aren't the focal point, where you're kind of veering off and talking about someone else and not sticking to yourself. That's something to avoid. And obviously, you don't want to use any offensive language in your essay. So, getting started, from my experience, working with students, a lot of students, struggle, in the first part, they want to come up with a really compelling hook. They want to, really draw in the reader's attention. I'm sure we've all learned from composition classes that, having a strong opening, is really important. That's true, yes, but at the same time, you shouldn't, think that you're, you shouldn't, spend so much time trying to come up with an original creative opening that, you just spin your wheels. I think sometimes it's best if you start in the middle and work your way out. And I mean, I think you can start with a small occurrence in terms of, picking a small moment and then expanding. I think, starting small, then going big. I mean, I think one thing to keep in mind as you're writing this is, think of your essay as a camera lens in terms of, you start off small and then you make it, something more profound. Like I said, I think starting in the beginning is a great way to start. And then at the end, hopefully, once the creative juices are flowing at that point, you can kind of go back to the beginning and come up with that really compelling, really interesting hook that starts off your essay. So the biggest challenge, I think this is the biggest challenge at least, is the fact that, for the Common App essay at least, it's 650 words. I think for the Coalition app, it's 550. I mean, 650 words is not a lot. I mean, before you know it, once you start writing, you realize that you're at 500 words, that you're gonna hit that word limit, very, very soon. And this could be a source of stress and anxiety. The fact that, oh my God, I just started writing and I feel like I'm already over the word limit. So I think to start off with, you can make it easier on yourself is just to ignore this at first. So just write, just get the ideas down, and just get your ideas down, and don't even worry about the word count. Ultimately, yes, you will need to get your essay down to 650 words, but to me it's easier to edit down the 650 words as opposed to always having the word count in the bottom of your screen and being stressed out that you're gonna run over. So ignore the word count at first. Just get the ideas down, and hopefully you're not writing 3,000 words or 2,500 words, but get the ideas down, and then eventually you'll find a way, to get in 650 words. And for the Common App, they're very hard, they're very strict about this. Like, your essay will actually cut off at 650 words. So that is a hard limit. So, in terms of getting started, I think you really want to, use specific details. You want to use specific details. I mean, you want to really, have the reader, get attached to you as the writer, as the speaker of the essay. And a great way to do that is to use really vivid language. Don't tell them, show them. I'm sure you've probably heard that before from your English teachers. Don't tell, show, in terms of using really language, specifics, that sort of thing. And like I said, it's okay, if you go over the word limit in doing that at this point. Again, we'll edit down, but using specific vivid language, that's what's going to draw readers in, to this personal essay. So let's talk about the tone. I mean, you want it to be formal. You don't want to, it's not like you're having a conversation, with one of your friends, and you certainly, want to use, proper grammar and syntax. So you want to be you want to be polished, but you don't want it to be overly too over the top. You don't want it to seem highbrow. I mean, at the end of the day, you want to sound like a high school student, a high school senior. And I think colleges at this point, kind of know, what a high school senior sounds like. So, I mean, you want to be authentic and use language that you use, if you were speaking to an adult, not necessarily one of your friends, but certainly an adult that you want to impress. I think that's kind of, that should be the aim in terms of, the tone and language that you use with the essay. So, once you have your idea, I mean, one thing that you want to keep in mind is having what I call an aha moment. by an aha moment, I think it's an opportunity for you as the writer to demonstrate, that you have, learned something, that you have a better understanding of who you are and what you're about, in the story that you're telling. And remember, you are telling a story. You're telling a story about yourself, but you're telling a story that has a point to the extent that you're revealing something meaningful and profound about who you are, or what you learned, or what you value, or what you appreciate. So I think every story will have that aha moment. And in terms of you really explaining, okay, this is why I'm telling you this. This is why, this is an interesting story. This is where, my personality really comes through in terms of this is who I am and what I care about. So let me just give you, some examples. So this is an essay of a student who wrote about the type of computer that they had. This is a student who was fortunate to attend a really prestigious prep school, Andover, and they were given a computer as part of their scholarship. And she realized that having this particular type of computer, it really made her stand out relative to her friends. So I'll just give you a moment to to read these two paragraphs of the computer, and I think they really demonstrate the aha moment that I was referring to. Okay. Hopefully you've had a chance, to read over, these two paragraphs, these two excerpts from this essay. And what I like about, this essay is the fact that, I mean, she uses an inanimate object. Here it is. She's talking about what type of laptop, she has, and she takes that and uses that to say something profound about, who she is and what she understands about, privilege and her background. So she uses this. She's able to use her experience. Being a scholarship student at this fancy private school, and really explain how she has a better sense of who she is and how the world works in regards to privilege, in terms of how she just has a better understanding of how this privilege works. So she's taking something small, here it is, a laptop, and she's able to expand it out into something that much more profound. And she has an aha moment where we see that she realizes something about herself and about the world that she didn't necessarily understand before. I mean, so clearly this is a very thoughtful student, a student who has a level of self-awareness. That's, I think, what makes this essay such a powerful one. This idea of we can kind of see the journey that she goes on in terms of coming to the self-awareness and understanding that she ultimately has, through the type of through the computer that she has. So here is another example. So the background for this essay is, this young man, his parents were refugees. His mother was a housekeeper. He would often accompany her when she would go to the specific house that she cleaned, and seeing the opportunities that this family had that he didn't have, it expanded his opportunities. It expanded his horizons. So I'll give you a chance to read about it. So it continues on. I think this is really the crux of the aha moment that this young man has. Okay, hopefully you had a
Hey,
chance
hey,
to.
Jermaine, really quick. If you just put your mouse over your slides, is there an option to turn subtitles on? Are you
I'm
on
sorry.
Google Slides? Are you on Google Slides?
Yes.
If do you see something at the bottom where there's subtitles?
Um,
Go back to the presentation mode. Oh yeah, see the captions in the bottom?
oh, I see.
Just click CC.
Okay,
Cool. It'll just do it automatically.
I see.
Sorry. Thanks.
Sure. So I think what makes this essay really, really powerful is the fact that we see the maturity that this young man has. We see that through accompanying his mom while she was a housekeeper to this particular home. He realized something about himself that yes, an immigrant. Immigrant, can have amazing opportunities, in this country, and it's he's been inspired. So he's taken this experience of accompanying his mom while she was cleaning this particular home, and we see how it reveals he's able to take that and learn something really profound about himself and the world around him. So that's the kind of the aha moment that this young man has. Again, similar to the first essay, taking something small, something that may seem somewhat ordinary, and making it profound. I think that's a common characteristic of really strong personal essays. So, hopefully, you've had some, you have an idea, and I think one thing to keep in mind is just to write, just to get the idea down there. I think the first time you do this, just try to get your ideas down. Don't pay attention to punctuation, things like that. Ultimately, yes, we will, you will need to edit, and but at first, just worry about getting the ideas down. A couple of things to keep in mind about editing: you want to avoid passive voice. Hopefully, you're familiar with what that means. Another thing you want to pay attention to is excessive punctuation. I think it can be incredibly distracting, for the readers. Um, Dangling modifiers, again, hopefully something else you've learned in your English classes. If you Google examples of these, I'm sure you'll be able to figure out what they are, if you're not yet. Another thing, wordiness. This kind of goes back to the 650 words that I was talking about. Through the editing process, hopefully, you'll get rid of wordiness as you move down to 600 and 50 and 50 words. So in terms of once you finish editing, and you want to get you want to read it aloud. And it's not necessarily a matter of finding corrections in terms of editing, but you want to read it aloud to yourself, because at the end of the day, I think hearing yourself, hearing your own writing, your own voice, you should feel comfortable. If for some reason you read it aloud to yourself and it just feels off, if you feel like it doesn't sound like you, something's not right there. Ultimately, you want your essay to be authentic. You want it to really kind of have it come from you. So if you read it aloud to yourself, and you say to yourself, this doesn't quite sound like me. I think you may have to you may have to, approach it a little different. Another thing to keep in mind is, feedback. I'm sure your parents, older brothers and siblings are ones who are going to, help you with this. I would limit the number of people that you get feedback from. There's a saying, too many chefs spoil the broth, and I think at times, students, they get pulled in different directions. One person tells them, one piece of advice, another person tells them another piece of advice. Their English teacher tells them to, to do this, and their parents, says to do that. So I would identify a few people that you trust, a few people whose opinion you really value, and, get feedback from that. Maybe two or three people, no more than that. Because I think if you try to, get feedback from any more, it's just going to be really confusing for you. So, get feedback, from a few people, and be amenable to their feedback. I mean, sometimes, they may have some insights about you that, you might not be aware of. I mean, ultimately, we all have blind spots. So it's important, to take their feedback seriously. And yes, it is, your essay at the end of the day. But, you should listen to what they say. I mean, you certainly don't want them to write passages. You certainly don't want them to write the essay for you. I mean, that is definitely a no-no. And I think schools are really good at kind of figuring out, when someone else has done that. So that's definitely something you want to avoid. But certainly get feedback from people that you trust and who know you well. So let's see. Let's finish up with some questions. So I see one here. Do I use the same essay for every college? So for most colleges, there are two essays that you have to write. There's kind of the big, common app college called common app personal essay, and that is seen by every college. So every college will see that one essay. That's the main essay. And then some schools will have what are called supplemental essays, where they're going to be particular to their, to that university or college. So an example of a supplemental essay might be, okay, why exactly do you want to attend this school? So obviously for that, you'll have to tailor that essay to explain, why you want to attend this school. Maybe it's because, you're interested in this major, or, being a part of this particular program. So that's a supplemental essay. But generally speaking, for your main personal essay, that is seen by all the colleges that you ultimately apply to. Next question. How much does the essay actually matter? It's a tough question. That's a tough question to answer. I mean, I think it very much depends on the school. I mean, some schools, emphasize it more than others. I think generally speaking, smaller schools, let's say like a small liberal arts school, the essay will probably matter more than, let's say, a big state university, a school where they're reading, 40, 50,000 applications. And it also depends on, the program that you're applying to. I mean, if you're applying to a really selective program, a program that only admits, 10, 15% of its applicants, they might pay more attention. So it very much depends on, the type of school that you're applying to. But your essay, generally speaking, does matter. I mean, it really is an opportunity for colleges, to see who you are. And, it's really the only opportunity where you get to speak to them directly, besides your grades and test scores. So you should definitely do your best. Um, do you think the essay might be more important this year because of optional testing? Um, I think it can. I know that some schools are allowing students or have prompts that are specifically related to the pandemic in terms of, how has your world been different, over the past 6 months, given all that we're dealing with. So, I mean, I think it will matter, because as you point out, more and more schools are being test optional this year. So, yeah, I mean, to the extent that test schools are being test optional, I think the other aspects of your application become even more important. Next question. How do you find out, what info to include, in the why this college essay? So I think for that, that's usually in the supplemental essay. I mean, that's where you kind of need to do your homework. I mean, hopefully, you've had a chance to learn about the school, learn about the program. I know that, it's been really, really hard for people to visit schools, to travel given the pandemic, but hopefully you've done enough research to where you can identify the aspects of the college in terms of its academic program, its extracurricular offerings, the social scene where, you can say this school is a really good fit for me for these particular reasons. This is why I want to attend this school because it has these programs in this location. I can see myself being involved in these clubs and activities. So, I mean, you really want to be specific in terms of, I want to major in this, I want to ultimately study in this, I'd like to study abroad. And, these are all things that your school has to offer. So, I mean, you definitely want to be specific, and that comes from, from doing your research and, figuring out, what is available, what is offered at that particular school. Next questions. Do college admissions officers not like to read about trauma and growth? I think they want to read about growth. I mean, they want, to see that you are a mature person. So, I mean, if there's an obstacle you've had, if there's an opportunity for you to demonstrate, personal growth in some way, yes, that is definitely something that, they want to see. I think, in terms of trauma, I think it kind of depends. I mean, I think it's a little tricky. I mean, you want to be careful in terms of, if there is a really traumatic event that you've experienced and whether or not, it's appropriate. So, I mean, I think I maybe get, a second opinion from someone, a grown up, an adult that you trust, if that is the direction that you want to go to. What's the difference between a personal statement and common app essays? From my experience, they're kind of, they're the same thing. I think, the common app essay, your personal statement, I think they're kind of one and the same. I think, they're just maybe called different things. So, I mean, your common app essay, is the essay that, I mean, if you are applying through the common app, is the essay that every school will see. And that's the main essay that they take a look at. And again, if there are supplemental essays, that are particular to that school in terms of why the school, that sort of thing, there'll be an additional supplement, for that essay. But I mean, personal statements, you know, that I think, it's essentially the same thing. How do I find out what essays? Um, how do I find out what essays your college needs? So every college, has, if you go to the admissions page of their website, will give you more information in terms of what they need. They'll tell you. I mean, you should definitely be able to find out, if there are supplemental essays for that college or that particular program. Sometimes, if there's a particular program within the college that you're applying to, there might be an additional essay that's required for that. But you should find that out ahead of time. Next question: how do I make sure I don't sound like I'm bragging? Um, yeah, I mean that certainly can be a problem. I mean, I think the best way to do that is to make sure that you're telling a story. I mean, you don't want your college essay to be a resume where you're just listing your accomplishments. I mean, you definitely want, your essay to be in story form. So, it has to be a good story. So, I mean, I think if you were to focus on one event, I mean, and it can be something that you're good at. I mean, if you're a great musician, for example, I mean, you can write about, being really talented in music, without coming across as bragging. I mean, I think the key there is to demonstrate growth, to demonstrate maturity. I mean, I imagine you weren't always good at music. I mean, perhaps you had to practice and work really hard at it, and maybe you write about that process. So I think if you tell a story and one that demonstrates growth and progression, you'll avoid coming across as bragging. Next question: is sharing your personal obstacles a good idea? Yes, I think it can be. I mean, that is kind of one of the prompts that is provided to you. Describe an obstacle or setback that you've had to overcome. So, I mean, I think it can work. I mean, to the extent that you demonstrate growth and maturity. If, for example, I don't know, if you have dyslexia and, you had to overcome that. If you've had to over had to deal with some sort of family difficulty. I mean, if there's a way for you to demonstrate that, I had a personal obstacle, but ultimately I was able to, you know, overcome it or have a better sense of who I am and, what I'm about as a person. That can certainly be a very powerful essay. Next question: how do we make our why statements unique? Not sure I understand what you mean by that. Um, I imagine you're talking about, it seems like you're talking about the supplements in terms of, why this particular college. I mean, again, hopefully you've done your research. If you're, if you're writing about, why this particular school is a good fit for you. I mean, colleges want to see that you spent the time to, to learn about their schools. Yes, it's hard that, I mean, I know most of you haven't been able to travel and be on campus given the pandemic. But if you've done your homework, if you've spent some time on their website, if you've signed up for virtual tours, if you had info sessions, hopefully you've been able to learn about the college through other means. And there's something there that that interests you, that fascinates you, that you think would be that would be a good fit. I mean, I think one way to think about it is to consider it, consider it like a lock and key scenario where, this is who you are as a person in terms of, this is what you bring to the table, and this is what is offered at the particular school, and you explain, why those two things mesh together in terms of, I'm really good at chemistry, and your chemistry department is really fantastic. I've seen that you guys, are working on this type of molecule, and I've been fascinated by this type of molecule. You guys do this type of research, and I'm really interested in this. So you definitely want to, explain who you are and why, and why you are a good fit for that particular school based on, their offerings and, all the things that, that make them unique.
Jermaine, there were a couple other questions that I think the slide just didn't update. So you're such a good resource. Do you mind if I just ask them to you? Because I want to make sure the kids get the answer. Cool.
Go ahead.
So let's see. The first one that I had put on here was, how does the coalition essay differ from the Common App essay? You mentioned the coalition application. Can you talk a little more about that?
It's virtually, same thing. I mean, I think the only difference with the coalition essay is the fact that I think, the word count is even smaller. I think it's 550. So you have less room to get your point across. So it's 550 words. But again, pretty much open-ended, open-ended questions, and where, you really have the chance to write about whatever you want. I know for, students that are applying to the University of California schools, they have their own set of, they have their own application that's, that's unique to all those schools. And I mean, there are specific, there you have to answer, I believe, I think they give you maybe 10 questions and you have to answer, 2 or 3. So that format is a little bit different. So there I think you have to be much, there you really are kind of responding to a particular question that they pose to you if you are applying to, to one of those schools. But for the coalition, it's essentially the same thing. I think that the word count is just a little bit smaller.
Cool. Another one, I have 3 more. When should students have a final draft done? And I assume that question means when is the latest that I can have a final draft done that you recommend?
Well, I mean, you can submit it up until the deadline, but I mean, that's kind of really cutting it close. I mean, I feel like you definitely want to have it done to the point where you can get feedback, to the point where you can make edits. I mean, one thing I will say is that, it's very rare to have an amazing essay right off the bat. I mean, to me, the best essays are the ones where you tinker. You kind of have to, make additions and edits. I mean, rarely do I see an essay that is just really dynamite, that's been done in, a weekend. Chances are, you're going to have to go back to the drawing board. You're going to have to tinker and, make some adjustments. So I think if you give yourself time, to do that, you'll be in better shape. And I mean, I think one thing that's really important is the fact that don't think it has to be the best thing since sliced bread. I mean, I think a lot of times, kids, procrastinate because they feel like it has to be absolutely perfect. Remember, I mean, 80% of the essays that, the woman I was speaking to you about who works in the college admissions office said are just okay. 10% of them are amazing, and then 10% of them aren't so good. So, I mean, obviously everyone wants to be in that 10% category of the amazing essays, but I mean, sometimes, the perfect can be the enemy of the good. So, I mean, if it's just good, if it's just solid, that's fine. I mean, and I mean, and I think, what oftentimes happens is, if you do a good essay and you do it with enough time, you can make it to where it's really, really good if you give yourself enough time. I think a common thing that I see is, kids show me essays at the very last minute, a day or two before the deadline and it has the potential to be, one of those 10% amazing essays, but, because it's been started and written so late, they don't have the time to do the edits and the corrections. So, just get it down. And if you give yourself enough time, you will be able to tinker and, go back and make edits and get feedback to where it can be one of those great essays. I mean, the key is to start early, get the idea down, and just tinker and improve and make corrections. And I think if you give yourself enough time, it can be one of those amazing 10% essays.
Yeah. So start now. Watch Umbrella Academy tomorrow. After this, after this is when you can start your essay. Everybody just make a little note. Let's see what I have. I think I have 2 more questions. Kind of to your last point, actually, is it true that admissions officers only read the introduction, and if it's not great, they don't read anymore after that?
I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. I mean, I can't speak for every college out there, but so that they can read it, so that this gives them a chance to read it. So I don't think that's true. I think they try to read the whole essay. They really want to get a sense of who you are and what type of person you're potentially bringing to their school. So I would not dismiss this assignment. It's an important assignment. I mean, yes, there are other parts of your application, your grades, your scores, your activities, your extracurricular, activities and things like that. But your college essay can make a difference. I mean, there are instances where students that I've worked with in the past is like, I thought you were going to get into that school. And and then I realized, oh yeah, your essay wasn't that great. So it can make a difference. So I would certainly do your best.
Good. So another vote for working on your essay and watching Umbrella Academy later. Got it. Last question.
One final thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, last question is, can you change the essay after you've submitted it? That one should be an easy one for you.
No, unfortunately not. You get one shot. You get one shot to do it. After you hit submit, you got to let it go. Don't read your essay after you submit it. That's when you find that that typo. And I mean, if it's one typo, if it's a not an, it's they'll forgive you for that, but you'll drive yourself crazy. So once you submit it, let it go. One final thing I'll say in terms of brainstorming, I'm a big fan of journaling. I imagine, it's if you're having a hard time brainstorming, I'd keep a journal, and just spend a few minutes a day just journaling. If that's not something you want to do, look at your social media feed. What excites you? What do you? I mean, are there patterns in terms of what you're posting on Twitter or Facebook? I mean, in terms of, okay, what do I like? What interests me? What gets me happy? What gets me? What am I opinionated about? So maybe looking through your feed and seeing what excites you. That sort of thing. Might be a good way for you to brainstorm if you are having trouble, coming up with an idea.
Awesome. Well, Jermaine, thank you so much. I think Amanda has a special thing to tell us. But before she does, thank you. This was super great. And I took some screenshots for you because students were giving you a lot of love in the chat. They're so grateful. So thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Good luck, everyone.
If I had to write a college essay, I'd feel pretty good about it at this point. You're like so calm and cool and collected.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. We're going to be doing more college admissions stuff for y'all because it's kind of funny. It's like the students that I started teaching first were sophomores when I first started Fiveable, and now they're all like grown up. And so we got to grow up with them and do some college admissions stuff. So thank you, Jermaine. So I'm really excited to, I don't know if you want to stop sharing your screen just to, let's see. I guess I don't really, that's okay. Anyways, I am super excited. We've been working all summer on supports for y'all. Like for many of you guys were maybe around when in the spring when we were doing cram sessions. And I mean, like, hit us up in the chat if you were at a cram session, one of those 5-hour marathon streams last spring. That was like the place to be in May. Like out of all the places, that was it. And so what was awesome is that, oh, here we go. So I'll just like make myself nice and big. So what was awesome about those streams is that I think we really got to see, just like how you guys got to see how Fiveable teaches and how we can cover content. And we spent a lot of time working on with other students about how we can support you guys the most this year. And so a couple of things, we have some big product things that are coming up this September that I really cannot wait to show you guys around. But before that, this fall, for the first time, Fiveable is actually going to be teaching AP classes as full courses. So maybe this is the first time you're hearing about this. It's actually going to be like super sweet. And some of you guys are already signed up for this. And so essentially what we've done is we've made it so that in 15 weeks, we can cover the entire course. And so that means if you're taking the class at school or there's an AP class that you actually really want to take that you've never been able to take before, we're going to be teaching all of the AP subjects, which is honestly maybe the first time anyone's ever taught all AP subjects in a live situation. And so one of the things that we're going to be doing, I want to give you guys like a little snapshot of what that will look like. So I really thought about, we all did, like if we were teaching this year remotely, what would our classrooms look like in a remote setting? What is the best way to teach remotely? And we've come up with a structure that is just like a really exciting system. So essentially I'm going to do like human geo as an example, because as some of y'all know, that's one of my favorites. So for that class, what a week might look like is that on a Monday, for example, I might do, or the teacher might do a stream for Unit 1, kind of going over the major, concepts for Unit 1, kind of like an all hands, like let's come together, let's really go over what we need to know. And then Tuesday to Thursday, everyone will be working on different things, some different assignments, some projects, and you'd be able to actually work together with other classmates from around the world on a project. And so for that unit, it might look like, Unit 1 is all about maps. And so what we'd have you do is choose 2 maps that have nothing to do with each other and put them together to tell a news story. So for example, using the Unit 1 concepts, for example, population density and farming together would tell you like the best place to be in a zombie apocalypse, or a pandemic, I guess. So that's kind of an example of one of the projects that you would do together with teammates. In some weeks, you'll do like practice essays, and we'll actually have graders, like real exam readers on the staff to grade them for you, to give you feedback. And then TAs, I think Harrison is in here. TAs are students who have passed the exam before, will also be in the class hosting office hours throughout the week so you can hop in. So it's like the way that we think that remote learning should work. This is what we wish all schools were doing. Instead, what we're seeing is a lot of teachers just like back to back to back Zoom calls. So we're going to be doing every single AP subject this fall and then again in the spring. Classes will start on September 8th, and then it will run through the whole thing. So this is a paid course. So just keep in mind, all of our other content, our study guides, everything else will stay free. But essentially, we are charging as little as humanly possible to pay the teachers and the TAs and the readers. And so as we have a paid product, that is how we are able to then reinvest into building more things for you. So I know that early bird already ran out, but because you guys are here and you stuck around the whole time, if you use the code, and I literally made the code Amanda10, you can have $10 off of however many courses you want. And so it's $45 for the entire 15 weeks. So someone do some math for me really quick. 15 divided by 45 divided by 15 is a really small amount. It's like a couple dollars a week. So my guess is if you ask your parents about this, like if you Google online AP courses, you won't find one for less than like $300.
I think $700 was
$700
I found. Yeah.
Unreal.
I know.
Okay. So $700. So we will make it so that you can pass this exam. You don't need to take the class at school. So if you wanted to take, you know, comparative government or music theory or I don't know, one of these other cool classes that are not oftentimes taught, or like human geography, not oftentimes taught at schools. You can take it with us. We are hiring right now some of the like coolest teachers, and maybe Kate can talk a little bit about them. But they are like these are like the people you want. Are we planning to hold the courses next year as well? Most likely. This is the first fall we're doing it, and so we're going to play it out and see how it goes. So let me just actually put the link in here. So it's just courses.fiveable.me. And like I said, you can use the code Amanda10 and it'll give you $10 off. And that code is going to expire on Saturday or really Friday night at midnight. So you guys have a little more than 24 hours to do that. Will it show on your high school transcripts? No. So it's not going to give you high school credit, but it is going to get you ready for the test. And that test is what gives you the college credit. So it's sort of one of those things. It's like, it would take us years to get credit to be an accredited high school. And so instead we're like, we don't need to do all that. You just take the test and you can get the college, college credit and you'll be all set. Yep. Code is Amanda10. And I wish I could like put it on a banner up here. My name 10. Exactly. It's like self-studying with Fiveable. Are we hiring for any more TA subjects?
No, the spots are all full. Unless you want to be a TA for a language, in which case you should email me.
Are all the languages open?
Open is like Italian, Japanese, Latin. That might be it. We have Spanish, we have French, and we have Chinese. I think we could take one more French. If you have French, you can email me too.
Shoot us an email. And if you really feel like you're super qualified for another subject, you can still apply. We'll hold on to your application and we can put you in a wait list or, hang on to your application for the spring too. So what resources will stay free? Within the next few weeks, we're going to be publishing study guides for every unit of every single AP subject. Those are all free forever. All the replays and everything from last year, trivia questions. There will be a number of other streams and replays that will stay free this year. But for the most part, streaming is going to start to be something that's a paid thing, whereas everything else will stay free. Cool. So I just wanted to let you guys know about all that. It seems like you guys have a bunch of questions. If you go on our website at courses.fiveable.me and click the little chat bubble below, we can answer all your questions about courses. And even on the website of itself at courses.fiveable.me, it will say a lot of the answers to your questions. Boom. Normal classes are normally a year. We have official chat hours. We're trying to go to bed at normal times. What does that mean? You can email help on personal statements. Just shoot any emails to hi@fiveable.me, and we will connect with Jermaine when we can, and he will be back again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Part 2, it's just the same thing again, right?
Just the same thing again. We'll figure out subtitles for that one. So maybe that's the recording we'll send around so that we can make sure it has the subtitles for all of you. But yeah, there's still spots in tomorrow night. You should all have an email from me if you want to sign up, tell your friends, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Awesome. Any of you guys already signed up for courses, by the way? I think we got a few people here who are. I'm super excited to see y'all.
We got some TAs.
IO. We do have some TAs.
Yeah.
AP World. I'm literally can't wait. I think it's gonna be so much fun. It's gonna be like a whole new way of learning that is just like not even. It's just like not. People don't even talk about this, and so I think it's gonna be really cool.
Yeah.
I
agree.
Cool. Awesome. Well, shoot us any questions you've got, and we will see you around. Thank you guys so much for spending time. Thank you, Jermaine. Thank you, Kate. And we will see you guys soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.